Britain's youngest ever hitman. Today we're going to talk about how a schoolboy took a life for just £200. This is a throwback case where detectives were shocked to learn that a 15-year-old was paid only £200 for taking the life of a young mother. She was shot dead on the eve of her son's 9th birthday, detectives were informed. Hooded and hiding his face from the camera, the assassin gave the impression of being an experienced professional hitman. Police were confused when they saw the CCTV. They said it looked like a professional hitman carrying out a job. There was no hesitation and he showed no nerves, as if he was doing this his whole life and he was used to doing it. A minicab driver who unwittingly took the killer to and from the crime scene of Clapham, East London, later testified that Gale appeared totally normal when he got back into the taxi after committing this brutal act on a mother. Initially, police were baffled by what had happened. We absolutely did not have a clue. We were at a dead end, is what they had said. However, the teenager bragged about taking the woman's life to his friends in northwest London, and it was his loose talk which unlocked the case. Isaac Billy, 21, a member of the KGB, a gang in northwest London at the time, had been threatening to take the life of a teenager called Ryan. And then that teenager told the police that Billy, the drug dealer with the street name Iceman, had threatened to shoot him because he knew about the M charge of the Turkish woman. He made a statement that the killer had confessed to carrying out the shooting and that he'd been taken there by a taxi and that a security grill covered the door of the victim's flat. The detective inspector said, "When I heard about the grill, I only knew the killer could have known about that. We had revealed that." In his second statement, the man who was talking about them said the killer had told him his payment for the murder was just £200. But police looked into it a little bit more and suggested that he could have been groomed into it. They said, "I think he thought he was going to get more money for it. My gut feeling is that the money was an element, but there must have been a lot of peer pressure and an attempt to impress older members of the gang." He said of the man that took the woman's life, "He's not a very bright lad. He did not have a good schooling or much parental control. He was easily manipulated in many ways. He was a victim himself." The woman whose life was taken had split up with the father of her son, and she was due to get married in Turkey that summer and had mentioned regaining custody of her son. The court said this may have been a motive for the killing. The youngster who carried out this attack had no connections with the Turkish community, the court also heard. His interest was said to be girls and playing on his Xbox and even a normal thing like football. He was said to have also been a cannabis dealer who was first convicted at 14 for an attempted robbery charge. Police began to examine all the mobile phone records, especially the flurry of calls leading up to the attack. It was said the Iceman, who we spoke about earlier, had hired the young boy to go and commit the killing because he had no links to the Turkish community. He was in the area a couple of days before carrying out the brutal attack. It was also said that he had received £2,000 and promised the youngster more money, but didn't end up giving him that cash. He had only given him 1/10 of that, which is £200. When he was in court, he actually had a dispute with the jury when they were found guilty for this incident. As the pair were led away, one was heard to shout at the jury, "Effing stitch me up and find me guilty. And F you. You don't know nothing and haven't looked at the evidence, idiots." In the trial, we also learned a lot more about what happened in the incident. It said that CCTV was recording the hit boy calmly walking up to the flat, pulling out his weapon from a rucksack and opening fire before running off. He left his victim with a tennis ball sized hole in her chest. And when detectives saw the footage, they believed they were dealing with an experienced professional. The prosecution had claimed that Gale, the youngster, was hired by the woman's former partner, but he was actually cleared. Gale was expected to be paid $2,000 but only received $200 for the murder in East London, and detectives believed the real motive was more to do with the standing in the gang. One motive is money, but it could be to impress the older men. To say this kind of behaviour belonged in his family would be an understatement. The hitman Gail's half-brother, Donnell Carty, was jailed for life in November 2006 for taking the life of a lawyer called Tom A.P. Reese-Bright. He also had a cousin called Mr. Carty on the left, and he was given a life sentence for taking the life of a man called Lee on the right at the 2004 Notting Hill Carnival. Police also say the youngster had been dealing hard drugs from his home. On his MySpace page, Gail is pictured masked waving a wad of £50 notes, which he allegedly earned from selling drugs. One drawing posted on the page is called I Rob and depicts a mugging, while another is captured click click bang. There's also a video of a gang, probably the Bloods, carrying out a mugging. The young victim is filmed being knocked to the ground and a flurry of punches while his attackers cheer and chant the name Mike Tyson. This case was like 10 years ago, back in 2011. I cannot find his MySpace page to look through these videos. I'm trying to track it down. Some of the pages are still there, but most of them have been deleted, and this may have even been deleted at the time when MySpace was popping. If you guys are not familiar with what it is, it was just like social media before all stuff like Instagram, Facebook and TikTok were as big as what they are now. The young hitman was found guilty of the murder of his 26-year-old victim after he shot her as she answered the door to her mother's flat in Clapham, East London, on the 22nd of March 2010. He was 15 years old at the time of the murder, and he'd been convicted at the age of 14 for an attempted robbery and admitted being a drug cannabis dealer, and he was paid £200 to carry out the contract killing. The judge said it was ruthless and a calculated execution. He was sentenced to 20 years to life, minimum to serve 20 years, and he has a possibility of parole on the 19th of the 5th, 2031. As for his co-defendant in this case, Isaac Billy 22, he was given life also and must serve 22 years. I just want to say rest in peace to the victim in this case. She literally had a child also. Her life was taken for no reason whatsoever. A very bizarre case that her ex-partner got off of it and he wasn't involved. That was the only motive that the police could actually see when investigating this case. It's crazy looking into this case when you realise the man who committed this hit was only 15. His family members around him, 2 people had major cases themselves. A 15-year-old looking around at family and seeing what they was involved in, and then had people like Isaac Billy around him that groomed him into a life of crime is crazy. But at that age, can you think for yourself completely and actually make valid decisions without influence from other people? In saying that, there has been people that have come from even harsher environments and don't go and take the life of an innocent woman. That is it for this video, guys. Make sure you drop a like to support the channel, and of course subscribe with that notification bell included. I'll see you guys all in my next video. Peace out.